Welcome to the Dana Grant Show, where heart-centered stories, authentic connections, real talk, and real action come together. I'm your host, Dana Grant, and I believe in the boundless potential within each of us. Join me as we dive into transformative conversations that not only inspire growth, but compassion with a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Let's embark on this journey together, unlocking all the power within and creating a life of purpose and fulfillment. This is the Dana Grant Show, where your story matters and your voice is heard, and I cannot wait to dive in. Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where we are focused on heart-centered entrepreneurship and expansion. And boy, do I have a guest for you today, a special guest. And welcome, Courtney Jared Bannan. You are absolutely one of the people that I have been calling in for since the beginning of the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this interview.
Yeah, we have so much to talk about. I mean, I always say everyone needs a good attorney.
I could not agree more. And there are certain components that make an attorney good for one thing and maybe not so much for another. So we could talk about that.
Yeah. And, I didn't introduce you as a top attorney and an international attorney and an entrepreneur. But what drew me to you first was your book. And the Essential Playbook for Entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Everyone needs this book. And with this book, it's like an attorney in a book.
It really is. And it's no nonsense. It cuts right to the chase.
Yeah.
And, you and I are both very much heart-centered, intentional people. And that's how it starts. Let's get you on track so you're ready for the rest of the chapters.
I can't help but look down. I keep looking down here. Let's get this in front of me. So I'm talking into my speaker. But not only are you a distinguished attorney, but you're a law professor, an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur, multifaceted, visionary leader, in the legal realm. You're all over the place. I see you in several different countries. In fact, I follow you, and I'm looking at you in London. I'm looking at you in Ireland. I mean, you're just all over the place. What got you where you are now? I mean, this is expansive. This is quite a journey.
It was a journey, and honestly, it was a very organic journey. Nothing was really planned out. And it just goes to me having a wide variety of interests in so many things. And for all the things that you see that I do, I probably failed at 200 other things that I was interested in. And these are just the ones that kind of stuck and congealed together and built a cohesive little network, because being an author led me to being a speaker, and being an attorney led me to being an author, and being a professor led me to writing the book, because it started out as a class supplement for my law class. So they kind of all just happened. And then all the other things that I attempted just kind of fell off the wagon. But I'm not afraid to fail. And I think that is probably the most important aspect of anyone who needs to go deep and go wide, is you cannot be afraid of adversity or failure. And I failed at a million things, but the ones that stuck, I became successful at those. And I'm okay with that. All those lessons learned were just blessings.
We just had a brief conversation before we started, and it's true. What I recognized with you was you do go deep and wide, and I feel new things coming as well. And we can dive in. I feel not only deep reflections, but you're opening new doors, and I can't wait to explore that if you're willing to share today. But we have so much to dive into. If someone had to, you put on here, I mean, I ask a lot of questions, but what I really loved is the simplicity of your answers. It was so great that I said, what is something that my listeners could really utilize? And you said they will learn how to ask the right questions when dealing with an attorney. Let's start there. What are the right questions to ask an attorney if we're talking, perhaps maybe let's be more specific, an entrepreneur?
Okay. That's very important, because that's my niche market.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs need very specialized care. So if you're going to a large firm, you're going to have 3 or 4 different attorneys assigned to your file, paralegals. You're going to get billed
Mm.
for everything. If you breathe on the phone, they're going to bill you for that. And they're going to research it first and they're going to bill you for that. So that's not really the best like schedule or billing model for an entrepreneur. So I deal only in flat fees unless it's litigation.
Mhm.
And I keep very careful time. I don't charge for things like if I'm updating you on what I'm
Right.
doing for you, I feel I
Right.
don't have a right to charge you for that. So I don't.
Mm.
A big law firm will. It's part of my job. I'm telling you what I did.
Mhm.
I shouldn't have to get paid for that as well. It just doesn't make sense to me. So these are all things that go into my intentional practice of law. And it's very important because entrepreneurs are bootstrapping, they have finance, they have people they have to get legal bills approved by. So it's very important that they know what they're getting into. So if you're going to a
Right.
big law firm, you want to ask how many attorneys are going to be assigned to my file? Do they specialize in my particular industry? Because not only
Yeah.
are you an entrepreneur, but let's say you're in the financial space or you're in the oil and gas space, because they're going to have to research and look things up for you. You're going to get charged for that. It's going to take more time. You want a big firm if you have
Mhm.
a very ugly litigation case where you
Mm.
feel like you might have been a little bit wrong. You want to go to a big firm with a big name, or you
Mhm.
want to find a very well-known aggressive solo attorney. So it depends on what you need the attorney for. But if you are an entrepreneur and you need an attorney, you want to go to someone who specializes in entrepreneurship, corporations, business, or someone very specific to your industry. And then the questions you want to ask them up front is, what do you need from me so I can get what I need from you quickly? And we won't have any impediments to our working together, because a lot of entrepreneurs will come to me. They have absolutely nothing. They don't know where to start. So I have a
Right.
startup package. So I gear them toward that.
Oh,
And
good information because you're right. People go, they don't know what the questions ask. What
yes.
do I need? Or where do so I love that you have a startup package.
Yes. And then when people come to me, if we're doing a consultation, the first thing I tell them is research your industry inside and out. See, find out what government entities regulate your activity. Do you
Right.
have to have any particular licenses? Do you have to have a brick and mortar building? Like, look
Right.
all the stuff up yourself. Come to the attorney and say, this is what I have so far. What else do I need to be compliant? That
Right.
staves off a lot of legal fees for you right there if you are very informed in your own industry. Because I mean, entrepreneurs, we're chaotic and we like to be disruptors. But the truth is, there has to be some sort of semblance of organization to your thought process, because you
Right.
get excited about a product or an idea, and then you just keep going forward without thinking, oh, that's illegal, or oh, I need a
Yeah.
license, or oh, I need to file with the SEC. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't get to that part until it's too late, and then boom, they're in trouble.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I remember co-founding Cauliflower Foods and in the beginning starting a farmer's market and thinking, you need a raw license when I wanted to do zoodles. And I'm like, but I have another license. They said, that's the pizza's cooked. Now you need a raw. I mean, but I learned on the fly. And, I don't know if that was the best way to do it, but I did it that way. And, I think there's something that came in of imposter syndrome that I didn't know enough. And even with the attorney, I didn't know the questions to ask. Now years later, I understand where I started and where I am now. And I really value, you know, a relationship with an attorney, knowing that their knowledge is going to not only protect me, but guide me and build me because everything, one legal move could wipe me out. And
Yes.
I believe that because I've lived it and I understand the importance of having that legal protection or consulting with an attorney regularly. What do you think about this? Am I protected here? What do you think as entrepreneurs, the most vulnerable spot we leave ourselves in?
Marketing.
Ah,
100%
marketing.
it's marketing. Um, and that also includes text messaging, emails, all of these things, not having the compliance documents in order. And it's really important, if you have a standard operating procedure in place before you start using third-party texting platforms,
Mm,
CRMs to make calls, text messages, emails, if you know what you can't do and what you can do, you operate differently, and you will find yourself questioning things as they come up because now you're knowledgeable and you don't really have to do
Right.
too much except say, hey, this is where I want to market. This is what I'm going to market. Tell me what I can and cannot do. Even using words like guarantee. I guarantee that you're going to double your income. Well, guess what? You can't. You're not allowed to say that. And you probably won't double their income. And if you do, great. But if you don't, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble either way if somebody reports you. But these are things that people, you don't know what you don't know. And that's where I come in.
Yeah. You're not only an attorney, I look at you as an empowerment on you empower entrepreneurs, not only to ask the right questions, but to support them in the build out. I think that there can be a lot of I think that trepidation of not knowing keeps us holding back. And and by not knowing, we don't want to I what do you find, let me ask you this question. Do you find that a lot of people are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to act like they don't know?
Yes. Absolutely. And that's why, a lot of what I do, and this is where being a niche market for entrepreneurs
Yeah.
really is specialized in coaching. So I do a lot of coaching, a lot of hand holding, and a lot of you got this, because at the end of the day, it's really hard for some people to admit they don't know something, especially when they're trying to look like a master in their industry.
Yeah.
And then they're coming to me and like, well, blah, blah, blah. They're embarrassed and a
Yeah.
lot of ego. You gotta, when you're an entrepreneur, your ego goes in the back pocket. I mean, your ego should be in your back pocket in general, but a lot of people, they don't know that yet, because
Yeah.
that's a whole other story about, I also try to really enlighten and help my clients ascend to a different level of thinking, as
Right.
far as not being afraid of failure, learning to love adversity. But when people aren't there yet, that's really where people get in trouble, because they are afraid and they don't ask questions, and then they just do things. And the next thing you know, boom, you're in trouble.
You know, you really just identified the ego energy, the protection of not asking, and the heart energy. And the reason I had to have you here is you're so heart-centered, very unusual to find. And you're such a mixed bag of it's like, take me through the life of Courtney, a day in the life. If I was an entrepreneur, I mean, you're not only heart-centered, your entrepreneurship, you're driven there. You've got the law expertise. And I have other questions to ask about that I'm good. I'm gonna ask you to take me. So here I am, knock, knock, knock on your door. I show up. I'm already, let's just say I'm a master life coach. I built out this business, this big business. I don't really know how I'm going to run my all this money I'm making, and it's growing exponentially. And I'm like, Courtney, I'm not sure what I'm doing on the legal. What do I do? Take me through your process of how you would approach a
So
new
the,
entrepreneur.
the first thing is, I want to hear start to finish how you think your business is running, as far as how you're selling your products, where you're selling your
Oh,
products. How are you marking down your sales? How are you keeping track of your customers? So you walk me through that process. Then I have you send me all of your documents, contracts, even standard operating
mm,
procedures, rules and regulations of your company. And then I
yeah.
want to look at all your payment platforms, your CRMs. I want to see how they're speaking to each other, how you're sending messages to your
Mm,
clients. Then I'm going to look at your privacy policy. I'm going to look at your terms and conditions on your website, your terms and condition on your checkout page. I want to see how all that jives together. And then industry specific stuff, like if you are selling something, is it a financial product? Do you have the correct disclaimers? Are you a professional? Do you have the correct disclaimers? You have to say certain things. If you're not a financial professional and you're selling something that smells and looks like a financial product, do you have that disclaimer in there? So I'm
mhm.
looking for all of those things, and then what I do is I write you the longest opinion letter. I break down your departments. I tell you how you have to have things set up. I give you standard operating procedures for
Mhm.
every single department that you have, including your human resource department. I'll do your job descriptions, tell you how to classify your employees, explain to you why that person can't be a 1099 employee with that title, why this person's not exempt, why this person is exempt. So there's all these different things that go into it, and they all play on each other. And I really like
Mm.
to just do everything all at once, and keep
Yeah.
it very simple and basic so we can build on it as you grow. Instead
I
of overcomplicating and all this lawyer speak, I don't do that.
I love the fact you just spoke my language, keep it simple. But what
Yes.
you did just do is create some in my soul of my stomach, because my body's brain just got a little anxious over some things. I'm like, ooh, can I do that? Ooh, have I done that right? Ooh, am I covered there? I'm big on contracts. I don't work with people until they sign a contract. But I can see where I might have some loopholes where, I think that after,
Everybody.
the mode of operation, you do it for a while, then you have to reassess. How often should people reassess what they're doing? Is it based on how much money they're making, or based on laws and the new year? When should people reassess and relook at their business?
Honestly, all of the above. So, new regulations come out, unless you are the one who's getting all of these new laws as they come out. Like a lot of people didn't know about certain things with GDPR when that came out. So, they didn't know they had to update their privacy policy. They didn't understand
Ah,
that they had to have certain language for data breach. So, if you're not the person who is like
right.
always looking at everything in your industry, then I would say you should have everything looked at least once a year, because even when they change regulations, they give you some lead time. It's not like they change it and then boom, you have like a week to comply. They'll give you like a year or 6 months, and they'll give you a date. So you'd be pretty okay just once a year having a little checkup.
Right. You love this work, don't you? I
I
can feel
do. I
I can
do.
feel
I
the
love it.
passion in your voice, like, yeah, it's like lit a fire. I'm like, ooh, good questions. Ooh, I'm gonna have to like hire Courtney. I noticed that you practice in different countries. How applicable is that to, I mean, because in the UK is different. The law is quite different. I have a lot of clients in the UK, and I'm like, don't ask me, things are different there. You're a whole different system. How
It
are
is.
you doing that? How are you working here, working there, working? I mean, I see you're in several countries.
Yes. So that's all started with a particular client. And that person, I can't mention their name because they're a pretty big celebrity.
Right.
And they became a client, so I got my UK license.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of studying. It's a lot of stuff. I actually just finished doing all of my compliance, continuing legal education for 4 states and 2 different countries. And I also have Canada pending, and I have Pennsylvania pending. So that those will be granted any day now. So then I'll have 4 countries and 5 states.
And is California included in there?
No, that one's pending also, but I have to take the test. That's it.
Oh,
The other ones I'm already done with everything. I'm just waiting for the final stamp, but I have to take the test for California. So I'm taking that in July of 2025.
oh yeah. Like, I'm going to be signing up for like July, August 1st. I'm like first for California. I don't think there's anything more empowering than knowing that you're safe in what you're building. As entrepreneurs, I mean, let's face it, we're out here 15 hours a day. We're building, building, building. And this is why it was so important to bring you on today, to illuminate and highlight that we have to ask better questions. As a
Yeah.
life coach, I ask, and as an entrepreneur, I have to ask better questions in order to get different results. But a lot of times, I think when it comes to law and the dentist and legal tends to be, I think, where people shy away from. They'll wait on it. Well, I'll wait on that. Oh, I mean, look at how many people don't have wills and don't do, I'll wait on that until
Yeah.
what something happens. And then, and I think, would you find that as well?
Oh,
Would you?
100%. And also people who think that they can still do handshake deals, and people who think that, well, I don't want the contract to be complicated. And when I tell you, out of every lawyer you will ever meet, I have the least complicated contracts of all times. And if I have put something complicated in there,
Yeah,
it's there for a reason. And typically
exactly.
that's when I'm working with another attorney negotiating a contract for a client, and I see how they're resisting certain things. Like, I read a lot of dark
Mm,
psychology books. I love that stuff. And I see people coming before they know that they've been spotted, and like, I recognize you. And I will put
yeah.
something in there, and my client will say, that's complicated. Then that other person will really fight me on it. Then I know I've hit a sore spot. And I'm like, just trust me, you need this in there. Well, it's fine. That's never going to happen. I said, until it does. And then when it does, you're going to want that in there. And anybody who is going into business, and this is really important, I want everyone to like really write this down. Anyone who's entering into a business relationship with another person, when they are open and amenable to having everything in the contract, everything that covers everything in the contract, that's a good business relationship. Because only the people who plan on doing something sour are the ones who don't want all of that stuff in the contract. Because why do you care? If it's protecting both parties from something, why are you fighting me on this? Because you are shady. You are going to do something shady. Like, I see it, and I've never been wrong 100% of the time. Later on, it comes back, and they're like, "Hey, this guy didn't pay me, and now he took me off the. I don't have access to the business records anymore." And I'm like, "I told you, should have left that in there." But it's really sad because people who are in good faith negotiating a contract want everything in there, and that's important for people to know.
I let people know that it's a duality of protection, that I'm here to do my job, but I ask certain things of you as well. I am a big stickler on contracts, but I've learned through a very difficult process of understanding the value of that. And, I wrote a note down and I think that I think it's so important to ask what are the pitfalls that we fall into as entrepreneurs when it comes to to the communication with maybe our attorney or hiring an attorney.
Yeah, and that's really important. And a lot of attorneys won't kind of give that to you up front. You'll have to ask them. And the truth is, when you are entering into a contract with someone, there is a power struggle because one party is always the one that has more power over the other. The contract needs to regulate that. So if you're the person who's expecting to get paid, and you're the party is expecting to get the service, the person who needs to get paid is in a very weaker position because they're relying on that money. This person, if I don't deliver, they could go to anybody. They could just not pay me and go to anybody. But if I'm delivering and I'm not getting paid, then that's the power struggle right there. So it really needs to even out. And one of the things that I see the most in every contract is the breach. Like, I can terminate for any breach of the agreement. Okay, but what exactly is a material breach of this agreement? And recently I had one that said, basically, if we just don't like how you're performing. Well, no, that's subjective. Contracts are not subjective. They can be for certain reasons, but not in this case. And we fought about that for a long time. And then my client actually ended up listening to me and not signing the agreement because I said, they're going to say that they don't like how you're delivering the services, and then they don't have to pay you anything forever in perpetuity, including all the stuff that they have to pay you on the back end. So, they fought me on that for a reason because that was their intent.
You know, you couldn't be righter. I keep thinking and reflecting, and I thought, oh, I won't tell a story, but I'm going to tell a story.
Tell a story.
In the big, yeah, this is an important story for people to understand is what you said was truth. I remember a contract and I really wanted to work with this client. It was my first big contract, over 10,000 work with me. And I thought, but she redlined everything. And I kept compromising and offering I over delivered to an unbelievable degree. I never did it again, but everything came back to bite me. Every single thing was redlined and I thought she knew what she was doing. This wasn't her first rodeo. And it was my first rodeo doing a contract of that nature with this work and to that degree. And I thought, you know, there's something what you said, when someone shows up and they're redlining and it's bouncing back at you. This literally took a month and a half to sign the contract. And I should have surrendered and said, you know what? No alignment. Now, if they don't align or it doesn't, if I don't get things in a timely fashion, I don't struggle. I keep it simple, but ask your questions that you need. I want people to ask questions. Ask questions if you don't understand, but I love to keep it simple, but I do require some certain things. And I think I require some emotional things in there too, whether I can hold them to that or not. I know it's more about financial agreements, but I also ask people not to work with multiple coaches when they work with me. I really want to make sure that I am in my zone and that I have their full attention. Now, whether I can hold them that, I mean, that's more of an integrity issue that I put in the contract. But would you say that the most binding thing in contracts is money? And what if someone doesn't pay your money and they've signed the contract and they're not paying? What legal recourses do people have?
That's an immediate material breach of the agreement, and you can call in the rest of the contract and ask for all the monies that are due plus attorney's fees. Your contract, any contract should state what happens if they don't pay. And even though I say keep it simple, like I keep it
Mhm.
simple with the language, so it's very clear and
Mhm.
concise, but I do have a lot in there. So if you don't pay me, you have 5 days from the notice that I
Yeah.
send you to pay me in full, or the entire contract amount is due, and we will take you to court. No further legal notice. Boom, you
Yeah.
sue them, and they're
Yeah.
going to owe it. It's a contract,
Yeah.
unless there's other circumstances. But sometimes people just don't have the money and they just don't pay, and that's it.
Yeah.
And in that
That
case,
sounds like such a harsh boundary. 5 days. See, I just recently did that, sent a letter and say, "Listen, this is non-negotiable here, and if this isn't done, we're going to follow up legally." And I thought she was gonna lose her mind because I set that boundary, and with all my heart-centered action, there still has to be boundaries around my business. I do have love and compassion. I wanna make sure that everyone I give grace, but this is a business. And
yes.
I think that would you say that are there businesses that wax and wane more with boundaries more than others?
Yeah, I think
Is
the
that a
smaller
subjective question? But
do.
yeah.
Yeah, the smaller businesses do, including myself. I wax and wane with that too. If somebody can't pay me, I try to work with them as much as I can. But once I
Right.
send that notice, if I'm sending that notice, then I mean business, then I already have the complaint drafted and I'm out for blood. And
Yeah.
those are the cases. But I mean, I have people
And
who
it's
come.
usually you've been disrespected, you've been
Yes.
ignored, they haven't responded. It isn't just I'm going for the juggler. It means, listen, you're not communicating, you are ghosting me, and this is over.
Yes, exactly. And I
Yeah.
give a lot of grace. I mean,
Yeah.
I had one client, and this is a story. I had a client about 10 years ago, who I was defending in a very, very bad criminal case. And I don't do criminal law, but this was like kind of a contract, but it was also criminal. And he owed me close to $10,000 in lawyer's fees, and he ghosted me. And I was so angry. I sent him 1,000 letters. And then one day I saw his wife in the supermarket, and my heart, like I'm probably going to cry, my heart sank. And I thought,
Mm.
I'm probably stressing him out so much. I'm adding to this person's distress. So I sent him a letter and I said, I forgive your
Mm.
debt. You don't owe me anything. The only thing I want you to do is pay it forward for somebody else, and pay it forward bigger than what I did for you, way bigger. And it doesn't have to be
Mm.
money, it could be anything you want. And then about 6 years after that, I got divorced. I was moving into an apartment, leaving a big, beautiful house that I didn't want to move out of. And I was walking up the stairs with my stuff, and it started to rain, and I just started to cry. And somebody came up behind me and said, "Don't you worry, I've got everything." It was the guy. He was my neighbor. He had moved into there too. He moved all my stuff in. His kids used to come say hi. His wife brought me cookies. I didn't have to lift a finger. They did so many nice things for me the whole time I lived there. He sent me clients, and now he owns a giant CBD company. He's the one that's like in every mall, like the Go Green. He owns like 10
Mm.
franchises now. He's doing really well. And wow, what a gift that was. And I remember that because when I'm going after people for money, it's not people like him,
No.
because of him.
So interesting that you say that. There is one person that it's energetically two things. I'm going to release them because I am not interested in staying connected to their energy
Right.
and it's not enough for the fight, or I'm not going to let you disrespect me and where I'm going all the way. Doesn't matter how much money I spend. Or there's a third, and that means something inside of me says have grace and compassion. It's a niggle. I can't explain it. And
Yes.
it just means I release you, and I want so many good things for you. And I want so many good things for everybody. But the energy, and I immediately saw that your energy, your heart connection, and your bound are connected to each and every person that you, and I've interviewed multiple stories of people with you, and it's your energy of how you show up and your willingness to shift and see things through a different lens. It isn't
Yes.
all legal. It isn't, and you've got some nice parameters and expansion around it. Tell us what's coming next. I have other questions I know written down, but I gotta know. I gotta know because intuitively, as I dropped in and did notes on you today, I'm like, uh-oh, something big's coming. And and you said I could ask. What's going
So
on?
I'm
What's happening?
So I started a new company with a partner, and it is
Ah,
a legal referral network helping attorneys and clients match each other like a relationship. So, and
oh
it's
my
doing
gosh, do I
doing
love
really
that.
well. And so once that starts getting more up and running, I'm going to slow down in my practice. I
Mhm.
have my second book coming out, and I'm
Do we
going
have a name of the book?
I don't have a name yet. I had one, I had a working title, but I don't like it anymore. And this
Mm.
book is more, so I'm a big poet. And when I was younger, like I was a writer before law school, like writing was my thing. I grew up writing poetry and reading poetry. And I want to spend more time writing, more time in nature, more time camping. And I'm a real outdoor person.
I have poetry books all over my
I
desk.
love it.
All over my desk. I love poetry too, and nature. I think that's what grounds you into the sense of you must stay grounded and connected to all five of your senses, and knowing that there's something bigger in this collective, this oneness, the
Yes.
universal law of oneness, that we are not soul and separate, but law is as individual as it is, it offers universal protection too for everybody.
It does. And I don't look at my job like, oh, I'm a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. I'm more like a puzzle solver. And that's how I
Mm.
look at things. I have a real superpower for taking large pieces of information and breaking it down into small parts people can metabolize. That's fun for me. Like I enjoy that. I really don't enjoy litigation. I don't like big
Mm.
firm attorneys at all. I actually don't like most attorneys. The other attorneys that I love are also attorneys that don't like other attorneys. Like we're a rare breed. There's just a few of us,
Yeah,
but
you're so odd for an attorney's, and your ego energy is so, I can't explain it. It's a different perspective and relationship to self, and an awareness that you don't see. And I mean, working as a lobbyist for as many years as I did in DC, I was surrounded by attorneys and energy and masculine
no,
energy, and even in my own energy having to show up a certain way. And I'm looking at you thinking nothing that I recognize. Nothing
no,
that I recognize at
no.
all.
I'm like I'm a yoga beach girl. Like I'm
Yeah.
in the beach. I'm at the beach in the morning doing my yoga. I'm a yoga
Yeah.
teacher since 2011. I don't teach professionally. I'm the kind of person, if I'm going to do something, I want the certificate for it. I'm super competitive.
I was going to say you want the degree for it. I'm getting a degree for yoga. I'm getting a degree for it. Yeah, I love
Love
that.
certificates. I love them. I don't even care what it's on. Like I just did I told you, I just finished my continuing legal education. I have all the certificates and I was looking at them today, like, ooh, just love it. It just makes me feel accomplished. So, oops. So I really believe that my purpose here on earth is to direct people to finding their dream. And that's why I work with entrepreneurs. I'm helping people achieve freedom. And I worked in
Yeah.
a corporate job for the past, well, 5 years, 5.5 years before I opened up the Entrepreneurs Law Group. And I was in an environment where attorneys were despised. Like comments were made uh, in front of everybody, including at events from stage, like just nasty comments about
More
attorneys.
than lobbyists.
Yes. And there was no respect for what I did. And I did quite a
Mm.
bit. I did a lot more than just regular attorney stuff. And I thought, I want other people. So this past year has been the most joyous, joyful, happy year of my life. I didn't know that it could be this good. And I want other people to feel how I felt this year. And that is achieved through entrepreneurship and freedom and not going to an office every day where you're not treated the way that you want to be treated. There's a whole entire world out there where people can connect and meet and collaborate on stuff. And I meet people. And I met a guy on a train in Scotland going to London, and had like this intense conversation, made a great connection. Turns out we know a lot of the same people because he's in real estate. Like, it was just so interesting. And I thought, how have I been missing out on this my entire life? I've been going to an office and being mistreated. So when I hear people coming to me and saying, I want to start my own company, I can't do this anymore, this 9 to 5 grind. And I'm like, you know what? I am your person. I am your guru for this. Let me take you through and let me cheer you on and let me make your energy feel beautiful and let's get this going. Like, that is a pleasure for me. And I look at that like an act of service for humankind and for the collective, because
Mhm.
in this day and age, people have become so individual that they don't understand when I do something, it reverberates through the entire world. And when you
Yeah.
know that, you're very careful with who you connect with. And,
Yeah.
I went through a really bad breakup a couple years ago that destroyed me. It destroyed me. And thank God, because that person needed to be destroyed. I have come
Mhm.
back stronger, like superwoman, omnipresent. And we don't realize that these things that happen to us are all blessings. Everything, like everything is a blessing. And if people change their thinking, then they would understand that your energy directs your business. Because when you operate like this on the inside, your business operates like that on the outside. And that's why people are always like, well, what is the intentional thing? Like, what is this a shtick? What is this, a gimmick? I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
When you are calm and peaceful on the inside, you operate from a place of strategy. You don't have ego. You don't have emotion. You don't make rash decisions. So it's really important that entrepreneurs first get their mindset right. And I help do that too. I do it all. Like, I want their dream to come true, then I am like cradle to grave with everything.
I absolutely. I'm just it I'm like all in. It's like it's just I think everyone needs it. It's like this is what everyone needs. You know, like the blueprint that you go to an attorney, you pretty much know. I've been to enough attorneys to know what the process is going to be, what it's going to cost, how enormous my bill is going to be. I'm going to ask less than more because the more I ask, the more I stay, the more it costs. And then I get a basic blueprint over it, which isn't everything I need. In fact, it's got gaping holes in it. I remember my last one, there was no operating agreement even signed, which was the most, oh yeah, wasn't signed for my business partner and I. And I'm like, there's no operating agreement. What? You know, and you're spending all this money. I love the fact you're almost as if, Courtney, that you're a concierge. You've concierge this,
Yes.
you're coining this concierge coach, entrepreneurship. You're looking at every case as an individual of what their needs are. And I feel this deep in knowing, this deep, I hate to overuse the word intuitive, but you have a deep knowing and intuition of knowing what's needed. And you can bypass a lot of the things that they may not need and anticipate what they will need. I
Yes.
love that. If there's so just okay, so I'm putting you on the spot here. If there's one thing and just knowing what you know about me that I need to know or need to do right now, what would it be? I know
Um,
that's vague. That's vague, but just intuitively, just like Dana, I feel this might be something you should pay attention to.
To me, you're literally perfect. So I don't even know how to answer that. You're on the ball, you're smart, you're beautiful, you know
Wow.
what you don't know. Like, I think you're good to go.
You know what? I know what I don't know. And I think that being at the age I am now, I know to ask questions. I no longer have the shame or the embarrassment to ask the questions because I need to know.
Yes.
And I think that when you said you set up the referral, I have so many clients that I need to give them a referral for an attorney that they need. It's very difficult to open up and what most people do is they open up the yellow pages. Well, here's
Yeah.
or we get a referral. We're like, they haven't been in practice for 5 years or 10 years. There's so many that don't align, but I love the fact that you're doing that. But I think, yeah, where I'm at is I know what I don't know, and I need to know a lot. I need to know a lot, and guess what? It isn't my job, just like the rest of my business. I delegate everything. I keep it very simple. I know where my genius is. I know where I'm supposed to be. Everything else is I've got professionals there. I
Yep.
don't try to deal with the law or the contractors. I don't try to do technology or any of that stuff. It's like, yeah, no, that is no, I couldn't create that if my life depended on it. I mean, I guess I could, but I'm not interested. I'm not a detail person like that. So I love the fact that you dropped in and you saw me very clearly. And that is, I'm not afraid to ask questions and delegate and surrender, and it doesn't make me feel less than that. But I will tell you, 30s, 40s, 50s, I might have felt less than. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want anyone to know I don't know because I look like I know and I should know after the profession and everything I've done. I should know, but I don't. And now it's like, friggin' the older I get, the less I know. And the more I surrender to don't know, but I'll
Yep.
find an answer for you. And
So
yeah,
this is my second career. And when I graduated law school, I was, 10, 15 years older than every other person. And I'd never worked in a law firm. I didn't really know much about the law. And I had to set a hearing and I could not figure out how to do it. And somebody said, ask the JA. And I didn't even know what a JA was. It was that bad. Like I knew nothing. And I was
like, what's a JA?
oh, judicial assistant.
Oh,
It's the judge's judicial assistant. Call the JA. Like, and I didn't know. So I finally figured out what a JA was. And I had to choke out that question to somebody like, what's a JA? And it was a really close friend of mine. She's like, oh my God, are you stupid? And I'm like, that's why I don't ask questions. So I called the JA in a fake voice. Hi, I'm calling on behalf of attorney Courtney Bannan. We need to set a hearing and I don't know what the process is. And she'll yell at me since the JA explained
yeah,
everything to me. And then after we hung up, I felt like bad about myself. I'm like, am I stupid? Like the
yeah,
only stupid question is the one you don't ask, honestly.
right.
And after that, I just became very bold and saying, you know
Mm.
what? I don't know. Can you explain that to me? I don't know what that is. Like I was almost in your face about it. And then after a while, I learned how to finesse things a little better, but it was a process for me as well. So,
I love that. It's hard to believe that you were the oldest graduating from, but I can see where your entrepreneurship has served you well. It's like blended
yeah.
and meshed into this beautiful, like I'm saying, concierge, business attorney, expansion. I mean, I think that and not only the books of paying it forward, but I feel that I immediately said you go deep and wide. Hard to find, really hard to find. I'm so glad I
Thank you.
found you, because
Thank
I
you.
always say I want heart-centered entrepreneurs that have integrity, that have things to share and intelligence and want to do better in the world. And boy, did I nail it here. I'm like,
Oh,
nail it here. I mean,
thank
yeah.
you.
Oh, let's see. What have I not asked you? I kind of like didn't look down at all. Let's see. Practice it. Okay. Practical advice on building trust with your attorney and ensuring legal security. How about
Oh,
that?
that's a good one.
How do we build trust with an attorney where especially if we've been burned, taken advantage of when we go in, and this, we go in and we're ready for you to take advantage of us, give us a big bill. We're defensive and we're like, we just know you're going to rob us before we even go. So you might as well just rob me now. Yeah. So
Yes.
how do
Building
we
trust,
build trust there?
that's really hard to build trust with an attorney who can't be trusted. So if you,
Mm.
first of all, follow your gut. The best thing to do, and I do this for everybody, I set up a small ask. Can you send me an email just confirming that? Even something small like that. See how fast they send it to you. If they send it to you quickly and
Mm.
they give you what you want, that's a slow build for trust. If they don't respond and you have to follow up with them, they don't care about you. They're not working on your case. They don't care.
Mm.
Billing. Look for entrepreneurs. Always look for an attorney that will do things on a flat fee. So my contracts, everything, I have like an a la carte menu depending on what you need, or you can buy a package of hours. So you buy 10 hours from me for a month, you don't use them
Mhm.
all, they roll over to the next month. I'll,
Wow.
till you run out. Like you could keep me on retainer for like a year if you just use me an hour a month, whatever. So find an attorney that is willing to do blocks of time. Flat fee
Mm.
billing, it's very popular right now. Any attorney who
Mhm.
is resistant to even considering a flat fee or a block of hours to purchase is not looking out for your best interest. They want to do point one, received email, point two, read email, point three, responded to email. You just paid $600 for them to respond to your email that said, "What's the status of my case?"
Yeah.
I can't believe how many times I see that. I had recently had a client give me their attorney bills from some cases that they were doing in other states, and I did a forensic review of those. I was blown away. $45,000 on one case,
Yeah.
and they hadn't even filed the answer yet. It was
Yeah.
all research, set up, copy prices, UPS, call to client, and those calls were returning their calls saying, "Did you file the answer yet?"
Yeah.
You don't charge for that. I'm sorry. That is
I
just
see it all the time. That's why
bad
this
blood.
this information is so valuable. And yeah, that right there. Um, it's so interesting that niggle we get when we meet with an attorney and we think they're the authority. Who are we to question? They've got the answers. We don't. So we're not even. But I think it's so important what you said. It's got to feel right. If it doesn't feel right, at least trust that. At
Yes.
least trust that something there isn't aligning with you.
Yeah, and don't hire any attorney that you haven't had at least a Zoom call with. Like you need
Mm,
that face to face. Look in their eyes. See how they treat you. Do they respect you? Do they respect what
mhm.
you do? Because a lot of attorneys have a little bit of an attitude where they think, "Oh, I'm the attorney." Well, that's BS. That's just what we chose to do as our job. We all have job titles. We're all the same. We're
Yeah.
all human beings and we're all doing our little part into the collective.
Mm,
If they don't have that attitude, that's like a no deal for me. But not
yeah,
everybody thinks like I do with that stuff. I'm extremely spiritual, and I choose my clients based on how I work with them and the alignment, like you said.
yeah,
But if you don't have that face to face with them, and you don't see how they respect you, how are they answering your questions? Are they fully answering your questions, or are they evading you? If you're in a consultation
mm,
and you ask them a question that gives legal advice, are they giving you a little nugget of that? I mean, they're not going to give
yeah,
you the whole thing, but are they saying,
right,
"Yeah, you can do that, but there's some nuances to it," instead of, "Well,
right,
you have to pay me if you want an answer to that."
right,
Don't trust them. That's somebody who's just looking at you like a billing event.
yeah. We wanna add that you are exceedingly successful and spiritual, and you are redefining I believe you're redefining the not only the legal community, but how we post I would say post-pandemic, how we hire attorneys, our relationship with them, being online and how we get supported and build out. I think you are a leader in the industry and it shows with your success and your book. And I just want to say congratulations. I am thrilled to be connected with you. I can feel our deep connection. It's good. It's like years from now, I'm going to be Courtney, and you're going to be, you did it again, Dana. And I'm like, I did. I did. I just wanted so badly this time to trust. Yeah, it's that boundary thing again that's always gonna bite
Oh,
me.
you got me now. You don't
Yeah,
need anybody else.
yeah, that's it. I'm like, "California, here we come."
Yes.
Unless I move to Florida, which my daughters are there, who knows?
Or
I'm
or
there,
you could just incorporate here and move your business here.
which is what I have been considering because as you know, California is California. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way. The cost of doing business here is, exceedingly high.
And
Um,
the consumer protection
yeah,
is
yeah,
ridiculous. It's like a
yeah.
weapon. It's weaponized.
Weaponized, exactly. It's hard to discuss. I have so many clients in the UK and around the country. It's hard to explain what it feels like to be in California, what my process looks like on
Yeah.
this end. And, I always feel like I have to be in the know, which, it's always ebbing and flowing and changing. And I think
Yes.
you are the new face of what it looks like for entrepreneurs, especially online, how they should what they can do to support and protect. I love it. I love it so much. I'm blasting you out there. I think everyone needs a
Oh, I love
Courtney.
it. Thank
Everyone needs
you.
a Courtney. Everyone needs, but you need her book first. You need the playbook. You need the book first. We're going to have all the links. I have one more question for you. Well, I have so many more questions for you. I have like 9 pages she wrote because she knew I'd want to know a lot. And I'm like, well, I can't keep you for hours, but I'm going to ask you this. What feels, I just saw you in Scotland on your bike in a beautiful little cottage. And I mean, everything about it was like, I was like leaning in. It was like it kept coming up, it kept calling me in, and I'm like, I can't wait to connect with her on this interview, on this conversation. But what in your life, Courtney, right now feels like love? What feels like love?
Waking up every day with peace.
Ah,
And that's it. And I'm single and I'm going to stay that way for quite some time. I'm really happy just spending time doing solo trips, which I do quite a few.
you
And
do.
this past trip was going to be a solo trip, but I dragged my sister at the last minute, and her boyfriend actually lives in the UK. I picked him out for her last time we were there a couple times ago, and they've
I
really
love that. I picked him out for her. I did
He's
it.
so nice. He's such a great, spiritual, lovely man. But so I decided to do it's called the NC 500. It's a very difficult driving course through the Highlands. And you're driving on the right side of the car, on the left side of the road, over cliffs.
I saw it. It
Yeah,
was terrible.
it
Yeah,
was it was terrifying,
terrifying.
but loved it. So I challenged myself, and that is what love is for me. Love right now is just doing whatever it takes to make myself stronger and more confident, more spiritual, deeper connections to my family, my friends, the planet, the earth, my faith, my spirit, my spirituality practice. And
Mm,
that is love. And I don't think that I could exude any more glowing love than I do right now at this time in my life, because I'm focused on myself and my peace.
wow. What a description and depiction of a powerhouse. I mean, that to me is like you said, perfect. I would say perfection, powerhouse, just stepping in and taking ownership of all of that. Hey, how can people find you?
Very easy. You can go to my website, which is just my full name, CourtneyJaredBannan.com. Or you can find me on Instagram. Again, just my full name, but Esquire spelled out, Courtney Jared Bannan Esquire. We will respond to your messages on Instagram, and we will respond to your messages that you leave on the website as well.
Yeah, I love following you on Instagram because you get to see your fun little excursions and the driving and the Scotland and the UK and the bridges. I mean, it's like I can vicariously, I'm not traveling for the last 2 months, but I feel like I am because
Well,
I
I'm
get to
buying a little
vicariously live
something
through
in
you.
the UK, so you can come visit me and stay over. I'm buying a little cottage there.
Are you really?
I
Oh my
am. I'm looking
gosh.
for one right now, or Ireland. So that's my family is Irish Scottish on my dad's side. So going to Scotland was like really amazing to see like where my family came from, and where we come from is like the northern part of Scotland,
Yeah.
which is really close to Iceland. So I did my genetics, and I came out
Yeah.
like I'm like part Viking. I'm the only blonde in my family. I mean, my hair
I'm
is like
partly,
darker
you're
now.
part Viking. Of course you're part Viking.
I know, right?
Of course
And
you are.
it's just so cool. But that whole little area, there's like fairy pools. Like it's very spiritual there, like the ancient druids and all the natural healers and the
Mhm.
women. And that's where I come from. And it's like I have goosebumps right now, just seeing like the standing stones and the fairy
Mm.
pools, and feeling that, oh my God, this is where I'm from. Now all of this makes sense. Like now everything about me makes sense, and just embracing who I am. That's love.
Right.
That's just great.
I beyond love that. So now I'm going to share this with you. Before anyone comes on, I pull a card, and I pulled it from a spiritual. It's not it really is just a spiritually grounded card. I want to look at your energy and where you're at. And if this isn't connected, it's been sitting here and I've been looking down at it. It's the warrior woman.
Oh,
That's what
I
I got for
love
you.
that.
And this deck, I love what it's anchored into, but it lets me know the light and the dark, the shadow work of where your strength is. But it says, have you answered your deepest calling? And I think you're in the process of diving in and exploring and incorporating and claiming all of your calling, which is, it's brilliant. I hate to be like too enamored, but it's not very often you get a powerhouse attorney that powerhouse attorney. I mean, look at that warrior woman.
I
Um,
love that.
that's out there slaying, but taking ownership, exploring, adventurous, has the depth, where you claim it all. Your soulfulness,
Thank
you look at the
you.
feminine and the masculine energy. It's not all masculine, do slay over here. You're really able to balance that out, and it's beautiful. It
I
has been,
just learned that. Before I was very masculine. I mean, if you look like, if you go in my car, I have boxing gloves. I've got my bow and arrow. I've got a
of
machete.
course.
I'm like, I got to balance
Yeah,
this out somehow. The yoga balances it a little, but I mean, I do
yeah,
have a warrior energy, and I love that you pulled
yeah.
that card because I've been working on
Yeah, it's been sitting
harnessing
here
my
looking
divine
at me.
spirit.
Yeah, and I
I
thought
love it.
I normally don't share it, but I work with an enormous amount of attorneys, a lot of masculine energy, and I think it's my ability to decipher and hold space for both and understand that the receiving versus the doing, and yeah, what a beautiful journey. What
Oh,
a
thank
beautiful
you. I
ride.
love you. I love talking to you. I could talk to you all
I
night.
know, I
You're
know.
like
I
my
don't
new
even know
best
how
friend.
yeah, I don't even know how long we've been on because, of course, we don't have my podcast manager. She's like, she would normally say, "Wrap it up, too long, be respectful," and I'm like, "La la la, I've got all my pay." What a great conversation. Thank you, Courtney. I can't wait to share
You.
this with the world out there and with my audience, and I hope that everybody has a Courtney in their life. I'm definitely
Oh,
claiming you
thank you. Well, you've
as
got me forever. I can't, I gotta come visit you in Northern California. I'm
oh,
there, I'm in California all the time.
Oh, well, of course you are. You're gonna get San Francisco, boom, you're right here. And right now we've got
My
Mount
favorite city.
Shasta, the snow, there's so much. There's
Oh,
so
I
much
love
going
it.
well, energetically, there's so much going on in Northern California right now. And
So beautiful there. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world. I love Napa. I love Muir Woods. I love
oh
just
yeah.
that whole area.
Well, I was
Yeah.
born in the Bay Area and, graduated from Calistoga, which is right outside of, and Calistoga
Yeah.
is a little town behind Napa but yeah, I'm more north right now, but everything, the North State is my home. I'm native Californian, but you are not only welcome, I'm going to hound you. Courtney, when are you coming? When are you coming? And we're going to book like a chica chica through like the ocean, the redwood. We're just going to have to like circulate
Oh
and
yeah, I
call
love
it
the
all in.
redwoods.
So
Oh,
funny because I just finished the last of my book and it was the universal law of oneness and it was about the connection. I told a story about the redwood trees and connecting to this ground and earth, how important it is that we're all connected and how, yeah, this whole conversation just for my day to day, there is no disconnect from the universe of stepping in today and just this divine connection with you. Thank you.
oh,
So
thank
grateful.
you. Thank
Thank you
you.
for
It was so
being here,
nice to meet
Courtney.
you face to face too. And you're so freaking gorgeous. Like,
Feel the
oh,
same way.
oh,
It's
thank you.
feel the same
We're
way.
gonna have so much fun together.
Oh gosh, we are. All right. Thank you everyone for
Thank you.
joining. Until next time, I want to encourage you not only to follow Courtney on Instagram, we're going to have all her deets below and yeah, and her book, it's a must have. We're going to put all of that out there. So, thank you again and until next time.